Hi everyone, Seth Scrimo here with the Best of Wooster podcast, and today I have a special chef on our show. His name is David, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he has going on. David, how you doing today?
Hi, Seth. Thanks for having me. Number one, this is David, Newberry-Yokley, and I'm happy to be hanging out with Seth today and talking a little bit more about my business, my small business, which is Big D's Soul-BQ.
Awesome. Let's get into the questions here. So you told me before that you had a long career in college admissions before making a big switch. What was the hardest part of that transition?
Long career might actually sell it a little bit short. It's the only career I ever had. Right? So when I graduated from college in 2000, my first job was working at Notre Dame College of Ohio. It was an all-female college up in the Cleveland area. I kind of stumbled into a college admissions job, and even though I changed different locations where I was working at, I never changed professions. So I worked there, went back and worked at the College of Wooster, spent some time in Columbus at Capital University, and then also back at the College of Wooster more recently. It was a 23-year career for me. I think the biggest challenge that I feel like I had initially was, historically, I've been sitting at a desk for 6 to 7 hours a day. And now I spend 6 to 7 hours standing per day. And then also I can be stubborn too. So when I started, I was wearing these cowboy boots because I was, I like these cowboy boots. And I was standing all day and I wasn't listening to my body. And when I wasn't listening to my body, life taught me a pretty valuable lesson about listening to my body. And I actually within the first 3 to 4 months of starting the business, my back went out. I missed some opportunities because of it. And so just kind of getting my body in shape and that standing all day. Since then, I've learned to listen to my body a bit more. But I think the standing all day has been maybe the biggest challenge in switching between college admissions.
Yeah, definitely. Having your body scream at you is never a fun time. So what was the moment you knew that you were on the right path with Big D's Soul Barbecue?
All right, so I'm going to try not to, sometimes I call it hippy dippy. So I'm not trying not to get too hippy dippy, but I kind of personally believe that life gives us signs that we're heading in the right or the wrong direction. And it was initially a conversation with a really good friend of mine named Ryan Allen that got me first thinking about cooking for a living. That happened after I stopped working or left my job. I spent about 6 months walking. I always say once I ran out of my play money, I kind of started to think about what I need to do for employment. And a good friend talked to me about, you're a great cook. Why don't you consider doing that? Also, another important piece of information is that that was November of 2023, and I opened shop in February of 2024. So it was a really quick turnaround time. But the signs I was on the right path, I think once I talked to Ryan, I bumped into Adam, who's the executive director at Local Roots, playing noontime hoops at the college. And he said he had a food truck. And I was like, I had this idea. And so I started to talk to him. He gave me a tour of Local Roots. Maybe shortly after that, I was down in North Carolina with my in-laws for Christmas. They got me a chef's hat for Christmas. They didn't know I was thinking about even doing anything with cooking for a living. Just they knew I love to cook, so they got me this chef hat. And I'll say the last thing that kind of helped me understand I was on the right path is once I was starting to figure out LLC and names and even logos and things like that, my son, I'm guessing, overhears the conversation that we're having about the naming of the place and whatnot. And he comes downstairs to my office area and he's got this little drawing of this character, which is a D who's like a chef. And if you look at my logo now, you can kind of see it, but it was really just kind of a rough sketch of that. And he came down with that logo, and I don't know, it was really just kind of cool that he was listening to our conversations. And it also helped me to understand that, okay, things just kind of kept happening and falling into place. And that to me communicated that was on the right path.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like some divine intervention where they're getting the hat and then the logo all at once. So you mentioned walking played a big role in your journey. How has that discipline helped you as a business owner?
I don't know if I'm not sure if it so much helped me discipline with starting a business and running a business. I've always been a worker and I've always taken kind of pride in my professional effort. The way I see it, though, the walking was kind of what I would call an entrance requirement to the idea of Big D's. I feel like I had to kind of show the universe that I could set up a challenging goal for myself and in rain, sleet, or snow, stick to it. Whenever I've done that. I've worked hard and been on top of things in my life. Again, opportunities have presented themselves. And so since I didn't know quite sure at the time when I first left my job what I was going to do, I just kind of I decided to focus on my personal health, and I focused on that moment, and I focused on kind of knocking my walking goal, which Started out at 7,500 steps a day, but then it was too little, increased about 10,000 steps a day. And oftentimes it's more than that, but it was like every single day. I did that, and I did a lot of golfing as well too. But the walking was my main effort, and I just focused on doing that every single day, hitting that goal every single day, or nearly every single day. And I just felt like if I focused on the moment and that goal, like the Lord would show me the right opportunity. The right opportunity would kind of come to me when it was time. And so I just focused on that moment and let the world work the way it works. I think again, November, about 6 months after I left, I had that kind of first idea that I think I want to start cooking. And then again, it was a matter of, again, like you said, following.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a firm believer in that, there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
There's only hard work. And even if you get told no 100 times, when you hit that 101 and you get that yes, then you're on the right track. So food and barbecue both have very deep cultural roots. How do you blend tradition with your own style?
So I feel like in both barbecue and soul food, the connection to me and my style is how I use spices. One thing I've had to learn is to be kind of more consistent as a professional chef and how I use spices. I tend to be like a dash of this, a dash of that, but people expect a certain amount of consistency, I think, when they're so I've had to kind of learn to measure and things like that. I still do make a little bit tweaks, but my barbecue rub is a rub that I actually designed myself, and it's used in a number of different dishes that I cook with. Definitely on all meat. So if you ever have a pulled pork, you have ribs, anything chicken, those kind of things. It's one of the main spices that's featured, and it's actually a mix of spices. There's some spices that are common in the Middle East. There's some spices that are common in North Africa and the Mediterranean, and then also some traditional American barbecue spices that are there as well too. So I think in order to cook, I think in order to cook well in general, but definitely in order to cook good barbecue, good soul food, there definitely has to be a strong understanding of spice. And when I say spice, I'm talking about flavor, not heat. Sometimes I say that, and people are like, "Oh, like it." We're talking about flavor, not so much heat. So having that strong understanding of spice, I kind of help make the soul food and the barbecue my own.
No, definitely. I think food's a great way to connect with people. Anytime that my family and we go on vacation and we see someone on the side of the road, say it's blazing hot, smoke's rolling, he has a smoker, he's grilling, he's sweating all over the place, I'm stopping there because you know what? That guy would not be out there busting his butt if this food wasn't good. So you talked a little bit about, some mac and cheese and a competitive tradition in your family. What makes yours stand out?
Okay, so I guess technically in my family, it's important to know that I'm not even into mac and cheese running. So let's just clarify that. Number one, I've always been the meat guy in our family, the person that goes out and handles the grill, puts the roast in, those types of things. And that's why if you see some of the marketing, it's actually called Charles's Mac and Cheese. So my brother is 100% the inspiration behind 90% of how I make the mac and cheese. I definitely have done some slight tweaking on my own, but again, most of it is um, um, relationship. My brother's mac and cheese. My brother's mac and cheese. It's a slight change of subject, but we're talking about my brother. I wanted to point out when I started my own business, me and my brother have a good relationship. I don't talk to anybody a lot, but we have a good relationship. But since I've started my own business, like calling and speaking to him for about an hour and learning about his mac and cheese, he's come down on Saturdays and helped me out in the kitchen. One Saturday when I threw my back out, he did 90% of the work in the kitchen as well too. So it's also, I think, helped me develop a better relationship with my brother. But if I'm, talking about mac and cheese, I had to give him his credit. He's the man behind the mac and cheese.
Awesome. So what's one dish on your menu that people have to try? And do you have a story behind it?
So, when I think about something that you have to try, the thing I would say most people would say mac and cheese. That would be the thing that if you talk to people, I regularly get comments about the quality of the mac and cheese, right? So I would say that. Again, I'm not a huge mac and cheese person myself. So I would probably go with the cornmeal fried shrimp. I like seafood, and it's a very, very simple batter. It's really just cornmeal and shrimp, but it's fried at the right temperature. It's fried just fast enough, comes out golden brown. You can pair that with either rice or mac and cheese, or if you come down for Soul Food Saturday, you can pair it with a number of vegetables. But I like the cornmeal fried shrimp. I think that's my favorite thing, my go-to thing. And cornmeal fried shrimp is just kind of a Southern tradition. And so that's me kind of tapping into those soul food roots.
So you serve both street food and soul food. How did you decide on that combination?
Even though technically street food is soul food, I consider is that. And also the other thing I'll mention is that soul food exists in all cultures. You go to a different country, you go to a different community, they have a soul. There's food that makes us feel comfortable, and that's soul food. But technically, currently have a street food menu, and I have a separate soul food menu. So the street food menu is actually based on halal chicken and rice carts, which in New York City is the most popular street food, and I venture to say one of the more popular street foods around the world because it's New York City. So the soul food menu is a little bit different, and it's just what some people might call more like Southern comfort food. That's to give you a good understanding. The street food menu was definitely more of a business decision for me. Halal chicken and rice carts, again, are so popular in New York City. I knew that. I felt like the freshness of the chicken, rice, and the vegetables was a good fit for local roots in the local roots market. And from a small business perspective, I was trying to find something that I was trying to work with ingredients that over time could provide. So the chicken and rice, when I first was looking for something to be cooking, the chicken and rice came to me, and that's why I do the street food, which is chicken and rice. More interesting, recently, I added fries to my menu. So in New York, what you'll see them get is the chicken and rice, and people will get the fries on top, and then you hit them with the white sauce, which is a cool sauce, and the red sauce, which is a spicy sauce. And so you've got this massive plate of chicken, rice, some light vegetables, and also fries on top. Definitely the way to get your food. The soul food menu actually came into existence because I started serving lunch. I started serving lunch on Saturdays in addition to Fridays. And initially had the same menu, the street food menu or the chicken and rice menu on Friday, same on Saturday. And I just kind of felt like if I had a different menu, it might create some more opportunity. And somehow I think one morning, like I was, playing around, and the idea of soul food Saturday kind of hit me. And so what I decided to do is, if you're familiar with, like, sometimes in the South also you'll see menus that are meat plus 3, which basically means you get to pick a meat and then you get to pick at least from 3 sides. It's kind of you might see it also called like a Tennessee lunch plate, it's called as well too. And so for me last weekend, the protein options were you could choose from jerk chicken, barbecue spare ribs, pulled pork, black-eyed falafel, which are really good, and also the cornmeal fried shrimp that I mentioned. So, like, Seth, if you were going, which one would you pick of those meats?
I'm definitely a rib guy. Some people know me as the chicken guy. I ate rotisserie chicken for 21 days straight. If you ever have one of those, that will definitely be the one. But a little background on me. I grew up in downtown Canton, Ohio. So when it comes to food and soul food, yeah, that's right up my alley.
Okay. So you're going with the ribs first. Now, once you pick your protein, you also get to pick 3 sides on Soul Food Saturday. Here are your side options. Your side options are Charles's mac and cheese, garlic green beans, killer cabbage, which is a fried cabbage, candied yams, country carrots, which are just a roasted carrot, salt, pepper, garlic, mixed greens with some smoked turkey, coleslaw, or sweet potato cornbread. So which sides are you picking? And you get 3 sides.
Well, we've been talking about this mac and cheese. It's been making me hungry. So definitely the mac and cheese. Cornbread because I'm having ribs. And then, I think some of that, you said fried turkey and greens? Is that what it was?
Smoked turkey and greens or fried cabbage.
I mean, I'd probably pay extra to get one of each.
No, for you come in, you get but I would say fried cabbage is one that's a secret, and I think we're talking about it a little bit later, but it's a secret thing that people really actually end up enjoying. So basically, again, I created that menu, and I always tell people like $16 a plate. I dare you to find a tastier plate per price ratio in town. So $16, you get your meat, you get 3 sides, it's delicious. And so that's the Soul Food Saturday menu, and kind of the backstory of why and how I came up with the Soul Food Saturday menu.
All right. Sounds like I know where I'm going on Saturday. So since opening and running your business, especially a food business, what has been the biggest learning curve so far?
I got a couple with this one. I think for me, the biggest learning curve, it's not so much learning curve, but maybe like risk. I sometimes I can be very bold, and sometimes, that first move, that first jump into doing something new, it takes a little bit of a push. Thankfully, I have an awesome partner in crime at home, my wife, Newberry-Yokley, was oftentimes that push to go out there and be great. But I think for me, initially, that was a big thing to get started. That was a big challenge for me. And then, again, we talked about being on my feet all day after 23 years. Like, that's another big challenge for me, a big adjustment for me. And the other thing maybe that I didn't see as much is, especially with cooking, I guess I thought I'd be in the kitchen all the time, right? I'd be just cooking and putting food out. And I think it's the multiple hats that you have to wear in order to be a successful small business person or owner. Like daily tasks for me include obviously menu development. We're talking about that. Always looking at marketing and promotions. I try to do some marketing on Facebook as well too. The financial piece, which is just keeping track of documents and keeping track of receipts. And on top of that, what I had to learn my first year is like how much I'm spending on certain things. How much does it cost to make a pan of mac and cheese versus how much does it cost to, so that financial piece is always huge. How much mac and cheese, how much of this to make and that. I think the supply chain piece is big, relationship building, another big piece, and also kind of brand control. And that doesn't even include mopping floors, right? So like I just think that the big curve is that you have to learn to do everything well to wear multiple hats and to be able to adjust in addition to the cooking.
So let's say someone is trying Big D's for the first time. What should they order?
I think you should start with New York chicken and rice, which is now again recently got rebranded and now it's So BQ chicken and rice. But regardless of this or that, I think the chicken and rice dish is a great place to start. It's so light, it's so fresh. You can have it at lunch and then go off and work another half day. The mac and cheese is awesome, but for me, mac and cheese tends to be a little bit heavier, and so I might need a nap, right? So
Depending on where you work, it might be worth it. You don't want to work. You think after your nap.
I might need a nap, but so I like the chicken and rice because it's a great lunch option. And again, it's just if you have it hot on Fridays, or if you come into the local Roots and grab it out of the cooler, you have it cold. Either way, it's just an excellent lunch choice. And I think it's a nice introduction to my cooking and how I like to cook.
So you mentioned this before. You're a one-man show. So how do you balance quality and efficiency?
One of the challenges that I hope to face in the future is figuring out how to find staffing so that I'm not doing all the work, but also maintaining quality. I think that's, again, it's something I look forward to maybe having an opportunity to tackle, but I think it's something I think about, like how do I find people that care or maybe not as passionate, but are going to create that same level of high quality that I expect. And so that's how I control quality. The efficiency, especially because I am a one-person show and, I'm cooking food. The first one, I'm the line person. Sometimes I have to run to the back, fry shrimp, come back up. It's there's a lot of different things going on. But, all right, as a one-man show, I think efficiency actually is a larger challenge. Number one, cooking for 4 people or 6 people at home for us, 4 people at home for us is much different than cooking for 40 people. And so that's number one. That's you got to do a lot more bulk, and sometimes in a very short amount of time. Thankfully, when I first started serving hot lunches, my wife and my brother regularly came over to help me. I actually couldn't have done it without them. I couldn't have been a one-person show at that point. It was really kind of dish person, kitchen person in the front of house. I needed all that help. And so, but the experience I gained, as I gained experience, I was able to better game plan. I sometimes can over plan. Like, my thing is I want to come up with a really good plan and then execute it. And I find that in the kitchen, if I think about my day and write my day out, and if I just go in and check those things off, I'll have a great day. If I kind of come up with a list and then go in and get distracted and start doing other things, I'm just there a lot longer than I want to be there. So I just know that if you can come up with a good game plan based upon experience and follow that game plan, it can really help you be successful. So I think that from an efficiency standpoint, the experiences help, but also the fact that I'm sometimes an obsessive short-term planner.
And sometimes, from my experience in the Marine Corps, I was in the food service and we were cooking for about 3,000, 1,500 people at a time sometimes. And when you have large batches of like that, everything comes down to time hatch, right? You got to make your time hatch. You got to assign the roles. You got to make sure you got to check on everything, because I'm sure you've noticed this. You can have one plan, all of a sudden you got to almost do it in reverse order.
I would think that timing part, I think I appreciate you bringing that up, because even at home, like you think about like, when do I put the meat on? When do I put the vegetables on? It all a lot of times comes down to timing. And like you're saying, with larger orders, and I haven't even gotten to that level, but when you're dealing with larger amounts of food, you want things to be hot, you want things to be, but also to be out on time so that you can keep up with a certain schedule. So I think that timing piece and understanding how to time things is another really important piece too. So thank you.
That's right. We're always trying to find more time in the day, that's for sure. So Local Roots has played a big part in your journey. How has that community shaped your business?
The biggest thing that it's given me is people that I just nominate as my mentors. There are people just that have more experience than I. And, when I was younger, I like to learn things the hard way. I like to experience things for myself. But I think I realized, especially as an adult, in order to be successful, we talked about working hard and smart earlier on. I think it's also important to not just work hard, but again, like I said, to work smart. So if you can find people with experiences and people that have been through some things, and you can kind of like pick off little pieces of information and tips and tricks from them. And the local Roots crew, I think, is really helpful. Every time that I'm in there, I'm hearing chefs talk. They're willing to share their experiences with me. Andy O Sisters, I'd shout out, pierogi people, Omagor. Like, these are people who are local root chefs, but are, I think, from my perspective, really successful people as well too. And so it's just been great to have people that I can look at and go, okay, like, how are they doing things? Asking questions about catering. Gina from Andy O, like, how do I price catering? Those types of things. It's been great to have mentors. And also, I would say that it's been a safe place to start my own business. Definitely a lot of hard work and energy goes into it, right? But from a financial perspective, in terms of like taking a risk and starting a restaurant or starting to cook for a living, it's been a great way to kind of learn. Over the past year and a few months, I've learned a lot without having to invest a lot of my actual money into it. So that's the other thing. It's just been an environment. It's not necessarily a test kitchen. Maybe it is a test kitchen for something bigger, but like, I'm learning a lot. I'm planning a lot. I'm figuring out standard operating procedures. It's just been a good place to to grow and learn as a new young business owner, and so I appreciate it for that reason.
Yeah, for sure. I think, a big major hurdle that most people have when they start a business is getting over that imposter syndrome, right? That you can't do this, that, it's too hard, or like, where do I start? I think having the right people in your corner, people that can speak life in you, people that can support you, and more importantly, make sure they don't make the same mistakes that they made. That really brings your learning curve forward pretty fast.
Yeah.
So you engage with your customers in a hands-on way. How has that impacted your business?
I think having good food is important. Like, you have great food, that's one thing. But also having like great service and knowing more about the people. I think it's also important to have those relationships as well too. One of my favorite things is actually to go out there, and I call like work the lobby. And I say that because in college admissions, sometimes we'd have a lot full of visitors, and instead of just having them sit there quietly amongst themselves, as staff, we would get out, go downstairs, say hello, check on people, make sure they had everything they need, and just kind of work the lobby to make sure people felt welcome and taken care of as well too. When I started working at Local Roots, one of the first things I noticed is that Gina from Andio works the lobby. Like, she's not just in the kitchen cooking great food. She's out there interacting with people. She's out there sometimes delivering food, sometimes taking plates off tables, making sure that folks have everything they need. And it just kind of from people watching, which is something I just like to do. I like to learn kind of watching. And people are just like, man, like, she does a great job of, and the way in which people, I think, relate to her and support her and believe in her too. It's something that she's developed, and some other folks like Omar Gore's another good example. Now you're going to have to help me with the name. You're going to somehow edit this in. But I think she's a good example. Omar Gore's a good example. Rasada, who's another, they've been there for, around for like 10 plus years. These are people who, again, over time have built relationships and built a customer base. And I realized it's going to take me some time, but they've been able to build these relationship bases that have helped them be very successful businesses. And so when I see that, when I see something smart, instead of recreating the wheel, I just try to model it. And so I like to, again, get out there and just interact with people, help them, let them know that, hey, I'm paying attention to the quality of your food. I had to fix something on this. There's a guy that came in one time and I refried his shrimp, because when I first cooked this cornmeal shrimp, it just was a darker color than I wanted. And I just took the time, recooked the shrimp, let them know, hey man, it took me an extra little bit of time to get to cook your shrimp or to get your meal out, because I wanted it just wasn't right. I wanted to get it. So talked to him in the lobby for a little bit. Go back that night. One of my best reviews, if you go on Facebook, his name is Frank. I think his name is Frank the Tank or something like that on Instagram. But if you look at the Instagram or Facebook, you'll see his review of that experience. And it's one of my best reviews and one of my most liked posts. I don't know. I just think it's something that's doesn't just feel good. It's just good business to be out there interacting with people, making sure they're taken care of, and even helping them understand your story, your journey, things like that. Like, people want to support people they like and appreciate. And so my goal is to cook great food and create strong relationships with people and share positive energy. And so that's been helped me be successful so far.
Yeah, one of my mentors when I first started doing personal training told me, do a good job, make sure everyone knows about it. So if that means learning the person in front of you, seeing how you can support them, that's huge because they're going to take care of you. Seth Godin has his book called Tribes. And when you build a tribe, the tribe will take care of you as long as you take care of the tribe.
No, absolutely. It's beautiful that things will take care of you. Do good work and things will work out. I think that's great testimony.
All right, so let's pivot here. Talk a little bit about the outside the stuff that you do here. So you're involved in the NAACP in OHuddle. How have those roles connected with what you do at Big D's?
Ohio probably is not as well connected to what I do at Big D's, but it's a great mentoring program in Worcester, Ohio, and around Worcester, Ohio. It's bigger than even just Wayne County, but it basically allows adults to volunteer their time to work with young people in our community or in their community that just need somebody checking in with them, somebody being there on a weekly basis to check in with them and to talk to them. So the Huddle program maybe not be as connected to my work, but mentorship, like we talked about, is just so important. And that program helps a lot of people in our community, a lot of young people have strong mentors. The NAACP work is more connected. Funny story about the NAACP. So NAACP, I wasn't really involved in until a few years ago, where I got a call and they were like, hey, we want you to be our treasurer, which if you know anything about me, it's hilarious. Like, I'm not even a financial person at home. I'm not responsible enough to keep track of my own money. And NAACP asked me to be their treasurer. But again, I wanted to be a part of, to do some work in my community. So I said yes. And I've been a treasurer for going into my fourth year now. And I think we talked about the financial management piece before too. A lot of that success I've had, or just the maybe not success, maybe the processes that I follow are processes that I developed as a result of being an NAACP treasurer. And so even though, again, at the time, I didn't know what I was preparing myself for, again, being that person, stepping into that role, stepping up into that role, not being the main financial person, and learning how to take care of not just my money, but other people's money, and create documentation of that actually has been a huge help to me at my end of the year taxes and things like that, because I've got things on a spreadsheet, I've got the receipts, it's a lot, but again, a lot of the processes that I take advantage of and use, I learned as an NAACP treasurer. So I get to give back to the community, and I've learned a lot as well too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of skills that can be transferable, right? When you have certain roles like that, having some mentors at local roots, you see the benefit of that because you've done some mentoring with OHuddle. So how do you stay creative in continuing evolving your menu?
When I first started working, I was always making changes. And what I realized at some point, I might have listened to a podcast, or somehow this got in my ear that, again, my menu also needed to be consistent as well too. And so I focused not on having new, I was just kind of, I wouldn't say playing around, but as a cook at home, I like to do lots of different things. And so I was just doing lots of different things that people enjoyed and actually were well received. But one of the tricks I think about the food service industry is it's about you have to be able to do the same thing over and over again. And also you want to do it really well. So kind of try to refocus myself. And that's when I started to create that street food menu, the chicken and rice menu that I just stuck to, where, again, you can come in and you basically pick your protein, chicken, jerk chicken, barbecue chicken, grilled shrimp, black eyed pea falafel. You can choose from those things, and then everything else repeated itself. If we all know Chipotle, we know things like that, where like you grab and now it's set up where you grab your I guess your carb, your rice, or your mac and cheese, you grab your protein, you get a small side salad. And so it's more regular now, but I was creative up front. But in somewhat ways, you still have to kind of be looking. I had the fries recently, for example, added a way to add side falafel on, for example, recently. So it's not that I don't change or innovate as much anymore, but I try to stick to the plan. I try to come up with a good plan and stick to it. The menu that I have for the street menu and the soul food plan, I have a great plan. So I make my pulled pork, I make my barbecue or jerk chicken, the fried shrimp, the falafel, and give those as options. And then people are able to pick, but then the sides may change a little bit. I'm getting away from myself in terms of answering this question, but I think you want to be, it's fun to be creative. For me, especially, I love being creative. I love mixing things, changing things, adding a dash of this, a dash of that. But I think one of the things that will help me, it's helped me be successful, will help me continue to be successful, is that I've got a couple really good punches that I'm going to swing over and over again. Instead of trying to come like learn all, like, if you look at like boxers and things like that, some of those boxers have they got one good punch, and they practice that, they work on that again. Like, and so what I've tried to do is focus on having the street familiar, the soul familiar. I've got a couple good punches that I can deliver over and over again, and hopefully people appreciate that as well too. So I don't always get to create as much as I did when I started.
Yeah. So if you have the recipe for success, just stick with it, right? So let's say we have a listener out there that is looking to maybe start their own food business, but they feel stuck. What advice would you give them?
I think anytime you feel stuck, there can be some worry about what's happening in the future. Like, where's this going? What am I doing? And I think a lot of times for me, like when I refocus myself and center myself in the moment and focus just on what I'm doing, things just kind of start to progress and they start to work out. There are a ton of things. I don't worry about things that I can't control, mostly because it's a complete waste of time. I over worry about the things I can control, but I try not to worry about things I cannot control. But things that I have control over, I try to pay a lot of attention to them, because I just feel like when I pay attention to the moment and I am giving my best effort to whatever I'm doing, respectful of people, that I carry myself with positive energy, like things change. Even when you're stuck, I think things change. When I first started thinking about leaving my job, and it's all happened in a 24-hour period of time. So it wasn't like I had spent a ton of time thinking about it. When I first had the idea, I gave myself the same pep talk that I give most people. Hey, sometimes you got to suck it up. Sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do. You know what? If you are feeling stuck, suck it up. Deal with it for the moment. Let's come up with a plan. Let's think about how we can become unstuck and how we can move forward. And so I think, like, initially, like you think sometimes you just got to make, but at the same point in time, I think also focusing on, again, the things that you can control. And this is a long-winded answer that you're gonna have fun editing, I'm sure. But I think that that's the important piece, is that if you're ever stuck in something, figure out, in the moment, what's the biggest concerns? What are the biggest challenges? What am I stuck on? Work on that, and then things work out. But when I think, worry about things that are outside of your control, either one, you're just wasting energy, but two, I guess you're just wasting energy. I don't know if you're gonna have a tough time with that one. I'm sorry, Seth.
No, I get it. Sometimes you have to swallow the frog, right? And that's a saying that has been said before, and you just got to do it. And nothing to it. It sucks, especially when you get older and become an adult. So if you're a young person listening to this, if you want to be successful, you're gonna do some things that you don't want to do. So sticking to a plan can be hard. But let's say we had a crystal ball in front of us, and we could see where Big D's would be, and a couple years from now. What would that look like?
We'll say, well, what's that big, like, 5-year goal? What's that window of time looks like? And again, I don't know. I hope it's full of opportunities, but I don't quite know what it's going to look like. I think initially, I was thinking, man, it'd be great to have a food truck, and that would be awesome as well too. For some reason, like if you're saying like I was dreaming real big, like I'd just have a little shack, little corner of town where I could serve food every day. I could, open up early, not be open too late at night, and still be able to get home, spend time with the family, and do it again the next day. But that would be dreaming real big. But again, if I was dreaming big, I think some sort of little corner of Wooster where I get to serve food. Local Roots has been great. A more regular space might be something I'd be interested in. I'd love to have happen, or a food truck as well too. Again, when I don't know, I just focus on the now. And again, opportunities always present themselves to me. Not just because I'm a lucky person. I don't necessarily think that. I think that when I've put in work, and I definitely am putting in the work with Big D, so with you, but when I put in the work, that gets recognized, and the next door opens up. And so I'm curious to see what that next door will be, but I'm working hard so that somebody sees me, somebody appreciates it and thinks, like, you know what? That might be a nice investment for me. I think I can work with that guy. He's got a great idea. He's got great food. I don't know. That's me kicking around randomly some ideas.
Every time someone always asks me that question, I always say, ask me, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, best I can. That's all I can do. If you could have anyone, past or present, try your food, who would it be and why?
I don't keep track of time well, so I'm not sure how long he's been passed away. But my father passed away 5 to 10 years ago. And if I could choose anybody to walk in the local roots and just to order food from me, it'd be him. He's my dad, number one, for obvious reasons. But also, when I was a kid in Springfield, Ohio, my dad bought this little grocery store that had been run down and kind of beat up. It was really, I think, it was like a hideaway. It was like his man cave. So he would like disappear and go work on his grocery store. It didn't, but but he had a dream of opening that grocery store, and we ended up moving. But he had this dream of opening up this little grocery store. And so I think he's always had a small business mindset. And I just think that he would appreciate the work. He'd appreciate the logo. He'd appreciate the menu. He'd appreciate that his son was there working hard and working towards his goals. So for a variety of different reasons, I think my father would be the person I'd love to have a meal with, or have walk into Big D's and just be able to maybe show off for him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be emotional for anyone, right? So let's say someone wants to support Big D's Soul Barbecue. Beyond just buying food, how can they do that?
I do have one buying food way, but I'm going to put a plug in there. But I would say the first thing you do is I'll take follows and likes, and I'm building that kind of core audience. So if you find me on Instagram, Big D Sobecue on Instagram, give me a follow, give me a like, and check in every so often to see how I'm doing. As well too. Comment. I think comments are and feedback on the food is really helpful. So I think that would be really cool. I'm also declaring it a Sobecue summer. I'm calling it a Sobecue summer because this summer, like when you're having your event and you're like, man, I've got this party I'm having, or I have this event I'm having. Like, I want somebody to bring in some really good barbecue. I want somebody to bring in some really good food. Like, consider letting Sobecue come in and cater your summer event. You can connect with me on Instagram about that. So that is a food push. And I'll say the last thing we kind of were talking about a little bit, like maybe I'm such a young and upstart person, and I'm looking for whatever that next opportunity is going to be. Like if you're a person who has thought about investing in a small business or want to connect with a small business, I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to sit down and talk with you about some of the things that you like, some of your goals. I'd love to be able to talk to you about some of my goals. But just, kind of, meeting the right people at this point, I think would be really helpful for me. And so maybe you're listening or you've had food down at Local Roots and you kind of take an interest and you see some opportunity, maybe we could connect and have a conversation over coffee.
Awesome. David, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think the number one thing that I have to do is shout out my wife. I can be a unique person to live with and deal with on a regular basis. I can be stubborn, like I said before. I can also be very caring as well too, but I can be very particular as well. And I don't know, my wife is number one. I would say she puts up with me. She's a great partner for me, but especially in this adventure, she's been a champion. Right. So whenever I've questioned her thing that she says to me all the time is, hey, go be great. And sometimes I'm headed out of the house and I'm tired. And, it's day 2 in a row of being on my feet all day and it's just me. And she goes, hey, I believe in you. Go be great. And that kind of stuff really helps motivate me. And the belief in me. Maybe I don't have the belief in myself, but the person that has belief in me, I think that it's just really important to recognize those people. And I wouldn't be the person I am. I wouldn't be where I am without Laura Newberry-Yokley. So I got to shout her out. Also got to shout out her uncle. So this is the number one thing I got to kind of come back before we end the podcast. I'm a bigger guy, and my name does start with D, but I do not go by Big D. Big D was Laura's uncle. And when he passed, he left us some resources that helped make this entire midlife adventure possible. And when we were thinking about the name of the business and what to call it, I'm a firm believer in just shouting people out. And so we decided that we wanted the name to shout him out. So it's Big D Sobecue, but I am not Big D. It's probably one of the most important to note. I don't get offended if you call me that, but I've never gone by Big D. And it's just really somebody that I appreciate and somebody that I also owe a shout out to for kind of being a founder in Big D Sobecue.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for being on the show. It's good to know a little bit more about you personally and how your business came to be. If you are looking for any other contact information, you can reach out to myself at 330-221-1547. Have a great day. Bye.